Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for responding to my last video. I got a lot of great feedback when I asked about a Patreon channel, and it's helped me focus in on what I think would be a good approach. So I wanted to follow up and ask some very pointed questions about The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, double album by Genesis, which I will start the channel by doing a deep dive. And let me ask these questions first, and I'll tell you my plans. So I know a lot of you are you're bigger Genesis fans than me, probably. You have listened to a lot of the stuff that I didn't have to cover before, because the focus of my band was the Phil Collins years from the 70s through the 80s. So in regards to The Lamb as it was performed live, my points of reference are the re-recorded and remixed Shrine Auditorium tapes, which were just re-released on the new 50th anniversary box set. And I've been listening a lot to the original tapes, which have been released by Wolfgang's Vault as is in January 1975. And I have some theories. I wanted to see if you agreed with me or back up my claims, because I haven't really torn this stuff apart yet. I just want to, as I go about my life and think about this and how I'm going to approach it, I wanted to get these things sorted out. So I think they played with tapes played by front of house in the following sections. The coda to In the Cage, that transition after In the Cage fades out. You hear that pattern come in. That had to have been a tape. I also think during the Ravine, the wind sound, which I think was a noise and a low frequency, low pass filter on the EMS Synthy. One of my friends told me this. I don't hear anyone else able to do that. Tony's playing pro soloist stuff. And then the other thing, I'm pretty sure those are tape. The third thing I think might be on tape, and that is that first portamento glide going out of In the Rapids into It. It has on the Shrine tapes, it has a different, I know it's a different patch, but it has a different timbre in the mix. It doesn't sound like it's coming from Tony's rig, and it sounds just like the record. So that first, and then I think that was a way for them to get out and then do the steel guitar sound going into It. But I'm not sure. He could have set that sound up. It just sounds different to me. So if anyone knows if that was on tape as they transitioned into It, or if Tony played all of those synth lines. There's a couple mystery things for me. And that is, speaking of In the Rapids, there's a metronome sounding too precise to be a woodblock sound on quarter notes, like a, and it's on the record longer. But on the live version, on both versions of that Shrine, the Wolfgang Vault radio streaming one and the remixed, re-recorded one from the archive box, it's there earlier in the song, and then it stops as soon as Tony Banks starts playing the piano part on the RMI piano part. And I hear Hackett is, Rutherford's doing electric 12-string strums. He's like the main rhythm part of the song. Hackett is doing like harmonics and little fills. And Phil is playing like cymbal swells and a quiet drum beat. And I hear that clicking sound. I'm like, I think that's Tony Banks playing that on a keyboard, and it's probably one of the presets that I don't use currently on the Art Pro Soloist, like that steel drum sound. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't gotten my ARP has been packed up since my last gig in March, so I can't think of what else it is unless it's a front of house thing, but I can't imagine they'd be playing it. Interestingly, I went and found recent footage of the Musical Box playing it. They bypassed that completely. So it's on the record. It is on the live tapes from 1975. I think it's Tony playing it on a keyboard. Like he almost never stops playing. So maybe he just said, oh, I can fill in this little percussion part. It's the same exact pitch as it is on the record, that it is live, which leads me to believe, did Phil have the exact same tight with very little resonance woodblock that just made it on stage, or was it a keyboard part? So interested what you think about that. Other live things is the effects. I hear the organ, of course, and the mellotron, and his 12-string guitar when he plays his part on the musical box going through the Leslie. I'm wondering if the pro soloist and the RMI were in the Leslie at that point. The Shrine mix, both mixes, it's the keyboards are hard panned right, and I just don't hear that churning on those parts that I do on the 76 tour tapes and on a Trick of the Tail album. The RMI sounds very out front and untainted to me, and the pro, but it's I have to be honest, it's hard for me to hear those sounds. I think they're more subtle than they are when you have the mellotron chords playing with the organ. You hear the wash, wah, wah. You hear the modulation. I don't hear it on the RMI or the pro soloist. I know that there is a lot of phase 100 on the RMI throughout, so I'm familiar with that modulation. I know the fuzz on what is it? Counting Out Time. I think that's the only song with the fuzz on the RMI. Now, as far as tape delay goes, I don't think Hackett and Banks had their own echoplexes on this tour. I'm listening to it, and their guitars are very untreated, not a lot of delay, except in a couple places, mainly Waiting Room. And I think Front of House had its own tape delay for Waiting Room because the repeats on the pro soloist, the Mellotron choir, and Hackett's leads are all the same repeat. So I think someone Front of House is doing that. Another time I hear tape delay is those sections coming out of in Watcher of the Skies right before the organ goes bum 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 bum. That part, Hackett does a slide. You hear it pan like left to right, and then there's like a fast repeat, boop 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 boop, and it cuts out. So I think all the delays on that tour. There's a lot of reflections in the Shrine thing. I hear it in the original vocal take. I hear the keyboards in the left channel. There's a reflection that could be a overall slapback. So I think Tony Banks effects were no tape delay, Leslie guitar and organ. Sorry, Mellotron guitar and organ through the Leslie, RMI and ARP not. Let me know if I'm right about that. And then finally, I have some questions about the bass parts. I hear foot pedal basses in the beginning of Watcher of the Skies. So Watcher of the Skies 75. Tony's organ is on with his right hand, and the Mellotron's at his left hand. That bass pedal organ in the beginning, I don't hear it going through a Leslie. Did Mike Rutherford play that on the Mr. Bassman, the Dutron bass pedals? I think he did. Back in New York City, I've actually been asked this, and I've avoided giving a definitive answer. I don't know. I've not delved into it. And when we did Back in New York City for the 1980 Duke tour, my band, we did kind of like we did the Duke tour, Six of the Best version, and it didn't have that. I forget the lyric that happens before, but you guys know what that bass goes. Does that big glide down, and then it stays with these big sustaining notes. I've always assumed that was in the Dutron bass pedals. Maybe there was some setting where you changed octaves and it went down. I don't have one of those. I've not read up on it. I can't imagine that's on the pro soloist. It just doesn't sound like the bass and tuba sounds of the pro soloist. It sounds more meatier to me, and I haven't picked apart like when does Tony switch from doing that pattern that doubles the guitar and the 6-string bass. So that big swoop down that stays for those low bass notes It might be something different on the record than it was live, or it might be the same thing. I'm really interested on what they did live. And then finally, this is a studio question, the busy eighth note bass part in It. It sounds to me like a keyboard. If it is a keyboard, it reminds me of what Tony did on the Spot the Pigeon EP. I think it's Match of the Day. There's no bass on that. That's like Tony playing bass parts on an ARP Pro Soloist, or no, ARP 2600. And I think he's doing a similar thing. Do you guys know what they're doing on the studio version of It in the bass? I don't know. The live versions, of course, are just long notes on the bass pedals played by Mike as he's doing that fast rhythm part. So those are things I haven't delved into that I think maybe those of you that have picked apart more live bootlegs than me, or thought about this album more than me, you might be able to tell me outright and save me some time. So I really appreciate the feedback. Let me know in the comments all those Lamb questions I asked. I'm dying to know. I know there's a bunch of know-it-alls out there that know this stuff like the back of your hand, and you could tell me really quickly. I would appreciate it. Thank you.